So we have a rare misstep from a great director. After the Hunt is Luca Guadagnino's worst film in quite a while. Honestly, it's the worst film I've seen from him because I haven't seen his stuff before 2009, which people say is his worst stuff. But all of his films from 2009 to 2024 have been, at the very least, very good. Some of them have been my favorite films of all time. I love I Am Loved to death. Call Me By Your Name, A Bigger Splash, Queer are all phenomenal films. I know a lot of people love Challengers. I really like Challengers as well. I guess I wasn't as hot on it as other people. But you do have some of the creative talent of Challengers reappearing here with Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross, who have done some phenomenal scores. However, there's some big missteps, and unfortunately, one of the parts that's a misstep is the score. All right, let me set things up here. This is another film about a professor getting canceled and canceled culture in the modern age, kind of like Tar. Tar is one of my favorite movies of all time, and the similarities to Tar's made me just want to see Tar. That was one misstep. You could make two films with very similar premises, but if you just go and give us distinct experiences, and give us distinct, interesting experiences, I won't have that feeling. And I had that feeling with this, not because it was one-to-one, but more so because it just wasn't an interesting experience. And I think the missteps of After the Hunt really come down to the characters. I did not find any of the characters in this film to be written interestingly, except Michael Stuhlbarg's character, who is a tertiary character to the point where you could remove him from this film and it would basically be the same film. I would just have one thing that I liked in here that would be lost. Loved his performance and loved the small bits that we got with that character, even though that character was a complete dick. Julia Roberts' character is just straight up not interesting. However, her performance is interesting because I think she comes off very genuine, so there's that going for it. There's some performances from fantastic actors that just fell flat and felt like miscast. Those are from Ayo Ediri, which I love her to death. Sorry if I butchered your name. She's fantastic in so many movies, but she's just miscast in here. And her performance in the first act especially feels very clunky and awkward considering the serious subject matter. But it's not as bad as Andrew Garfield's performance, who is a fantastic actor, but he just comes off very disingenuous in terms of delivering a performance. You could say his character may have those aspects to them, but I mean more so of like, oh yeah, this just feels like somebody acting straight up. In terms of like, oh, this just feels like a subpar actor trying to disappear into a role and just failing. Thankfully, they learn to use the Andrew Garfield character less and less as the film goes on. Ayo is used more and more, and I honestly think that her performance improved by the second and third act. The first act of this film is particularly really rough. There's some inciting incidents that just feel so unrealistic and so contrived in how they're set up. Like a character finds a certain item, and I'm just like, really? Like, wait, what? Why was that even there? Why did they check? Okay, whatever. And the inciting incident has, not a clear answer, and I like that, but again, it's kind of muddied by the performances, not just the clunky kind of introduction to it. Right off the bat, I was just like, oh, I'm not liking the character interactions that are going on here. I'm not liking these characters that are introduced. And it really didn't win me over with a lot of these characters. Now, like I said, Michael Stuhlbarg, cool small role. I did like the role from Chloe Sevigny, but it was really just because I was like, oh wow, the hair and makeup stylist really made her look completely different. I did not recognize her, and when I saw the end credits, I'm like, wait, that was Chloe? What the heck? And there's been other films, even from Luca, I think she looked kind of unrecognizable in Bones and all, where I've had that similar feeling with Chloe. I mean, she did a good performance, delivering like a different demeanor and things like that, but again, it's another tertiary character where you could just scrap that character and the movie would barely change. It was also cool to see this non-binary actor, Leo, I cannot pronounce their last name, which I remember from a movie about a trans man where they played a trans man, which was called Mutt. And it's kind of interesting to see that non-binary representation, and I like that in the film. And at the very least, that representation felt authentic, so that was cool. Which, yeah, felt way more authentic than the Andrew Garfield character. So the problems weren't only with just the characters and how the story plays off. I will say, as the moral dilemma kind of gets more and more dissected, and as we look at these power dynamics, much like Tar, I was more drawn to the second and third act, and it did kind of win me a bit over in this character drama that was going on and the power dynamics at play. And I will say that the last scene of this I thought was pretty effective. But even with my interest gaining more and more in the second and third act, it did drag on so much. I mean, this is over 2 hours, and it feels like you could have probably done this a little bit more effective in 90 minutes. Another problem would be the Trent Reznor and Atticus Ross score, which is crazy because they've done such great scores, and I just felt like there was this weird tendency where, okay, it has kind of like I would say like a 50s, and don't take my word on this because I'm really bad with films before the 70s. I know that's a blind spot for me, but it felt like kind of like a 50s noir, like thriller movie score, which that's cool. I mean, it wasn't super memorable, but I was like, okay, that's kind of interesting. But there would be these weird points where the score would just climax randomly in like the middle of a scene, and it's like, what the fuck just went on there? Like, why did that get so like loud, and why did it peak there and then just kind of like cut off? Like, what? It felt like the score was made before the scenes were actually shot and planned out, or before the film finished editing. I don't know. It felt very out of place at points. So there was that, but then also the sound design. While there are some interesting scenes where they use sound design to kind of give it a more real feeling of these interiors and things like that. There's a great scene with Michael Stuhlbarg where they use some cool sound design. I did not like this constant tendency in the sound design to use this tick-tock clock noise where I'm like, okay, they're showing tension and, kind of the feelings of these characters. But it was just so unnecessary, and it felt so cliche in that regard. And it was straight up obnoxious, where it would drown out some dialogue, and it was just like very loud. I was getting so annoyed by this ticking clock sound, and they used it multiple times throughout the film. They should have cut that out. That was so freaking annoying. I'm trying to think. There's the visual design, which I thought the visual design was fine. Now, this is a film that is shot by the cinematographer behind like Girl 6, which was a Spike Lee movie that I thought was decent, but I don't remember it having really an interesting visual design. And also like Black is King and Lemonade, which were Beyonce visual albums, and I didn't think those had very interesting visual designs, considering that they're visual albums, which the visuals should be very interesting in those. Then they also shot He Got Game, and yeah, there was some cool climate that was captured on screen where I'm like, okay, I could get a sense of the setting here, but I was hoping to be a little bit more blown away visually, considering the beautiful camera work of Queer and Challengers and Call Me By Your Name and I Am Love. It just felt like not only the weakest Luca film on a script level since 2009, but also on a visual level. The writer is a first-time feature writer, Nora Garrett. So I could totally see the missteps in just developing an interesting script here. So there was that. I don't know if there's too much else for me to say with this film. I mean, those are really my gripes. I just wish this was a more interesting experience, and I wish that it gave me a different experience for a similar topic of cancel culture that Tar gave me, because I just feel like Tar not only has such a more genuine feeling and intriguing script, but it's just a much more interesting audio visual level. And while watching this, I just wanted to see Tar again, honestly. So all things considered, I give this one a generous 6 out of 10, but the more I talk about it, the less I like it. And I don't know if I would revisit it anytime soon. I guess it's still a cut above most movies I'd see from even other directors, because it does have like, okay, yeah, the visual design isn't so distinct, but I'm like, okay, I'll take how this looks over like some random film that I'd see in theaters. But I don't know if I'm being biased straight up because it's a Luca film. Like, there is a part of me that's like, maybe I am being too easy on this film because of that. So let me know what you think of After the Hunt. Did I go too hard on it, or do you agree with its missteps? Subscribe here for more early, honest film reviews, and I'll see you later. Peace out.